Rico McGee, another episode of the Ruler's Minute, man. Got a returning guest. If you're
So
familiar with the show, you've seen my man before, former Carolina Panther man, Omari Jordan, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Hey, it's a pleasure to join you this evening. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you having me on your platform. And like I said, it's an extreme pleasure, you know what I'm saying? And just say what's up to all the people out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then thank you for joining me, man. I know we talked a little bit about your career the last time you was on the show, and I figured, you didn't talk so much about your career, but
Uh-huh.
sometimes you just want to talk sports, man, and talk about other things, man. So I said
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna bring you back because I want to get your thoughts. Because I
Okay.
read some of your posts, I'm like, yo, you be having it, you're good, strong mind. Like I love your takes, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I try to like just give things, from my perspective and from an analytical standpoint and throw in like personal experience and just try to, give better understanding to those that don't, that's in the clouds about what's going on with their favorite teams and
Right.
their particular players and stuff like
Right.
that. Try to give a better understanding of what's going on.
Okay. So with that perspective, one of the first things I'm going to ask you is LeBron and Stephen A have been going back and forth
Mm-hmm.
like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's have asked me my thoughts, and for me, it's like I don't have any kids. But
Okay.
if I was a father and I'm and I'm in LeBron's shoes, I understand why he may have gotten a little upset with Stephen A. And why
Mm-hmm.
he felt he had to check that the way that he checked it, because sometimes you can't be nice when you got to check somebody. So
Right.
I understood where LeBron was coming from. Excuse me. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
get your thoughts. Like, what would you have done if you're LeBron and Stephen A is just saying these things and just attacking, not maybe attacking, but going overboard sometimes. Stephen A has a tendency to go overboard sometimes.
Yes, he does. Yes, he
And
does. And my perspective on that is like this. I would probably say LeBron has to share a little bit of responsibility because you know your son is in the spotlight. Okay, your son is an NBA basketball player, and he's the son of one of arguably, in a lot of people's opinion, the greatest player of all time. You know,
mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be a spotlight on you. So you're gonna be open to all kind of criticism. You're gonna get the good and the bad and the ugly that comes with the profession that you join. Now, that's the one thing I would probably say LeBron has a better understanding. Which, LeBron, I'm pretty sure he does, but I'm not gonna say he's wrong because I would have done the same thing with Stephen A. Smith. And here's my reason why. And I have a bone to pick with Stephen A. Smith. And a lot of us black athletes do. Okay? Because I don't know if a lot of people catch this. It's that Stephen A. Smith has a tendency to think he's on par with athletes. Okay? He tried to carry this cachet as if he's an athlete himself, like he's on a pro level himself, you know. And when I think he get it misconstrued at that, okay, I give like TNT for an example. One of my favorite like shows, like with Barkley, Shaq, and Kenny. Okay, if you notice how Shaq and Barkley critique players, okay, Shaq, man, he's a scrub. I like, man, he's a scrub. He's a bum. He's a bum. You know how he talk about how he goes in on Rudy Gobert, even though Rudy Gobert is not a bum, but Shaq has that right to call him a bum, okay, because Shaq is on a level, okay? Just like when Barkley does his takes on Draymond Green, like, when he said Draymond Green had a triple single, you know what I'm saying, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Barkley can talk like that, okay? Where if you notice when Kenny critiques, Kenny stays in his own lane, like, oh, hey, wait a minute. I'm not like these two men, these two players that I'm sitting in between. I'm like a role player that was on a championship team. So I'm instead of calling this player a bum, I'm gonna sit up here and say, well, this guy's struggling to grasp the system. He's not, Kenny is taking a more politically correct approach and he's not gonna call nobody a scrub or a bum. That's just like me in my journeyman career. I can't talk like Warren Sapp. Okay, I can't give those takes of Julius Peppers or these great pass rushers or these great defensive linemen that played this game. I can never call nobody a scrub. I'm not gonna never call no professional athlete a scrub because the first thing they're gonna do is like, wait a minute, who is this dude?
Right.
And they're gonna Google me like, hey, wait a minute now.
Yeah.
And see, this is where Stephen A. Smith gets it wrong. Dude, you shouldn't be calling nobody a scrub, man. First of all, you never even made it to that level. Okay. And then when you played collegiate basketball at Winston-Salem State, it wasn't like you wasn't even nice. Like, and this the thing. Like, and see, I'm playing devil's advocate, and this is how these professional athletes are taking it. Wait a minute. You come from New York, okay? How does Syracuse, St. John's, all these Big East schools miss you, all these ACC schools miss you, all these D1 basketball schools miss you? How you, a New York basketball player, wound up at Winston-Salem State? So, dude, stop talking like as if you was that guy when you played. Like, remember when Jalen Rose kind of did that take when he went at Skip Bayless? Yeah. He was like, look, dude, Skip, stop talking like you was Pistol Pete in high school. Like, dude, you was Water Pistol Pete. You didn't even play. You played JV as a junior.
Right.
And how dare you sit up here and like disrespect these players and you weren't even nice like that in that sport. You know what I'm saying? So this is where Stephen A. Smith get it construed. Like I think he got like a psychological, like, it's something wrong upstairs to where he thinks he's a professional athlete. He talks like, dude, like when he was in, like if he played basketball, he averaged 25 points a game over a career. He won multiple championships. He done saw multiple bags. He's talking like, dude, you got your bag being a mouthy journalist that attacked black athletes. Okay, that was your claim to fame, and I'm not trying to go long-winded or anything like that, but remember when he started out with, quite frankly, okay, he was too black for ESPN. Okay, having Cat Williams on the show and stuff like that, he was keeping it all the way real. Now he lost his show. He wound up getting fired from ESPN. And they started to gradually let him back because he was kind of like stinking back with Skip's like over criticism for LeBron James. But once ESPN decided to pay him, and I'm gonna tell a lot of people this, a lot of people missed this. It was that segment when Ray Rice got to it with his wife.
Yeah. Michelle
Beadle was sitting right there. Stephen A. Smith had a keep it real moment.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Yeah, I remember.
When he said what he said, now they let that show air, right? And then Michelle Beadle did something against company policy. She went to Twitter, sparking outrage, saying, can you believe what Stephen A. Smith, bam, 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 bam. And lo and behold, that next show, I don't know if Stephen A. Smith got suspended. He was like a puppy with a tail between his legs, apologizing. And ever since then, he's been on an attack on black athletes. And Michelle Beadle basically scolded him in front of the world on that platform. He was sitting there like a broken little puppy. You know what I'm saying? And ever since then, he's been, toting the line and stuff like that. And this is why he's been on this attack. So, to bring it, to where it is currently, LeBron, like any other dad, like, dude, okay, you can critique my son, but dude, when you taking these personal shots like you taking, dude, no, I'm not having it. And LeBron's large platform just shed light on what a lot of black athletes feel about Stephen A. Smith, because it's a laundry list longer than Euclid Avenue of black athletes that have been wanting to put hands on Stephen A.
Okay. I mean, I like Stephen A. I do, and I love him as a brother. But it's like you said, man. Sometimes I think Stephen A. goes a little overboard, and I think I understand why. I understand the issue that a lot of people have with him. He keeps it real at times, but then at other times it's like, they'll say this, and then it's like, well, dude, pick a side.
Right.
Which side you
Well,
on?
he's not, and that's the thing. But and that's and unfortunately, Kwame Brown spoke on it. A lot of black athletes spoke on it. He gets his bread buttered on how he talks down on black athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, case in point, Riley Cooper, Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver, was at a Kenny Chesney concert, and he gets on the microphone and spewing the N-word, N-word this, N-word that. I fight every N-word, 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 N-word. Well, okay, Stephen A., what do you got to say about that? Well, I think the Eagles should have welcomed him with open arms. It was disgusting what he said. But imagine if one of us or one of these young athletes was at a what's one of these new rappers' name, like Boss Man D-Lo concert, and he's saying all
Yeah.
this, white, that,
Right.
calling, spewing, racial epithets about white people or other ethnic groups. Stephen A. Smith will be on the warpath on that black guy. Oh, how stupid can you be?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
So it's like a double standard. And the cat is out the bag now. We know Walt Disney, let's be for real. Walt Disney, has the founder was a racist,
No.
you know,
Yeah, we've been
and
there. Yeah, he couldn't
his his
stand
his
Jews.
I think it's his great niece who's running Disney now,
Yeah.
Abigail,
Yeah.
who went on that witch hunt for R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
She's running Disney.
Yeah.
So you kind of put the pieces of the puzzle. ESPN is owned by Disney and NBC and stuff like that. So Stephen A. Smith, he's basically saying what they paying a black man everything that they want to say about black athletes, they paying him to do it.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
I mean, hey, listen, facts is facts.
Mm-hmm.
Facts is facts. Definitely. So I mean, I think Stephen A and LeBron will resolve it at some point, but I just think, it reached this boiling point, and I think people are just people are frustrated, and I kind of understand why. And like I said, man, I love Stephen A. Smith as a
Mm-hmm.
brother, but I think people are just tired of these mainstream opinions, these mainstream
Absolutely.
analyst opinions, and now they're coming to the YouTubers and they're trying to get a different opinion. Like, they actually want to know the opinion of players who actually played the game, whether
Yes.
that actually played in the NFL, that actually played in the NBA, that actually played baseball and hockey and whatever
Mm-hmm.
professional sport you could think of. And sport, I mean, is definitely a dying sport, and I just hope, come full circle that LeBron and Stephen A can resolve that.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why LeBron felt how he felt, and at the same time, it's like there are things where me and my frat brother was talking, and I'm like, yo, LeBron gonna have to stop babying that boy, man.
He
Like,
gonna have to. You got
he's
to let
gonna
him
have to
grow up.
stop babying him, because
Yeah.
he was talking about they wouldn't let him play away games in the G. I'm like, bro,
Really.
yeah. Yeah, he like in the G League, there were talks about, only letting him play home games instead
Mm-hmm.
of away games. And I'm like, nah, man, he gotta listen, when you get out here in this world, man, you're gonna deal with some evil.
I'm gonna tell you who that is. I'm gonna tell you who's behind the scenes on that with Bronny is Savannah
Oh
and
yeah.
and LeBron's mother.
Yeah.
See, because I'm here's my thing, because a lot of people ask me this, like, because of course I'm down here in Charlotte. They was like, "How's LaMelo Ball this?" And the son Lonzo is, I said, well, you got to understand something. When you have two kids, like two sons, one son takes on the identity of the mother, whereas the other son takes on the identity of the father. Okay. I think in Bronny's case, Bronny is more Savannah's son.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whereas Bryce is more of LeBron's son, because what I'm understanding, Bryce is that dog.
Yeah.
Bryce is the dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or if you look at the Ball brothers, Lonzo is the mother's son.
Okay.
Like LeVar Ball, not LeVar Ball, but LaMelo Ball is LeVar's son. Because if you see it, the cachet, that confidence,
Yeah.
that cockiness, that's when I look at LaMelo Ball, I say that man, that's LeVar right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see this kid sometimes in public. He ain't arrogant, but he walks around with that cachet, like, yeah, I'm out. Yeah, I'm. That it's like that's LeVar living in him. So
Yeah.
where I think that baby is coming from, I think that's more Savannah. Like, I don't want him. And LeBron is going to pretty much say, okay, babe, I hear you. And I'm going to take care of him. I'm going to go talk to some people and, that type of thing.
That
So,
makes sense. That
yeah.
makes a whole lot of sense. Now I understand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely, okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
perfect sense.
Because you think about it, I think he almost died a year ago when
Yeah,
he had
yeah,
that
with the
blood
with the
clot.
heart. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when he passed out. So I think that kind of like shook Savannah up and shook up the grandmother. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm mistaken, because Bronny's the oldest.
Yeah.
That's Bron's mother's first grandbaby.
Mm-hmm.
So they was probably on LeBron's case, and LeBron was just probably like just straight like, I'm trying to concentrate on my thing over here, and you worrying me about this boy, and I get it. So LeBron just kind of like, yeah, we want to bring him close. We want to monitor this thing, what's going on with his
Right.
health and stuff like
Right.
that. And to a degree, is it babying? Yeah, it is. And I think at some point they got to cut that umbilical cord and let him be his own man, because that's one of the most frustrating things about being a son of an all-time great is like that kid has a tough enough time trying to cultivate his own identity.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Exactly.
that's that's his biggest struggle.
Yeah. And my thing, hey, he did have he had a career high 17 points last night against
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee. I just want to point that out. So it's like
Okay.
he's coming into form. I think he's,
Yeah.
the game is starting to come to him more now. Is slowing down for him. If I'm the Lakers, I would put him in the summer league for another year.
Yeah.
Continue to let him get that experience. Let him do some more time in the G League, and I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be
No,
good.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I was a fan of it when I had no issue with it.
Yeah.
When LeBron decided, when he came into the Lakers, like a lot of people was all butthurt and
Yeah.
I'm like, man, come on, man, we see nepotism every day, dude.
Right.
Like, grow up, man. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Right.
yeah, like if you look at the NFL level, if you look at the any sport, man, you know how many coaches' sons are coaching?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Like Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan. Like, come on, man.
Really, yeah, the Schottenheimers and yeah,
Right.
I'm like, man, come on, man, really? And these, I mean, and don't knock against them dudes. Like, hey, it is what it is. Like John Gruden's brother, Jay Gruden. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like,
Like, come on, dog. Right. Y'all ain't had this problem. Y'all don't have a problem with that, but y'all see these two, and all of a sudden it's a problem. Like, cut it.
right. And I'm like,
Cut
how
it.
many? And then you talking about LeBron hooking you up? Well, how many cousins worked at Popeyes and you went up there and got a hookup?
Right. Right. I had homeboys that worked at McDonald's back in the day. You know how the free food that I got? Stop.
Right.
Stop. I think he might have got fired behind that because he got caught at some point. But I mean,
right.
oh man. So switching gears now, man. Best of luck. I hope they could resolve that. The
Absolutely.
NCAA tournament. Did you fill out a bracket?
No, I did, man. Just been busy, but a lot of people gonna kill me for this one. But I'm pulling for Duke.
Okay. Okay. I think they won too. I think they won big today too, which I kind of
Yeah.
saw that coming. I'm one of
Yeah.
them people, man. I get mad at Gonzaga. I filled out a bracket. I picked Gonzaga to win. Gonzaga seems like they never win, and I get irritated at the fact that they don't win. As much as the talent that has come through that program, the wins that you have, I don't understand why it's so tough for teams like Gonzaga to pull it off. Even though I do like Duke. Speaking of which, switching gears from Gonzaga for a minute, I made a post. I said I don't think Cooper Flagg should play in this tournament. I think he should just go ahead, get your ankle right, and go straight to the NBA.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Cooper Flagg? If you were Cooper Flagg, would you play in this tournament?
Again, it's one of them situations to where that's up to him.
Yeah,
And if it had to be me, because I mean, I'm looking at everything like my future, my financial situation right now. A lot of things play into that, man. I mean, because I give you one name. Remember Grant Hill?
yeah.
You know, remember how his career was sabotaged.
From
You know,
injuries, yeah,
I mean, listen to some of these doctors and stuff like that because he had an issue with his ankle and stuff like that. So, I mean, and I think I think he's going to make the best decision for him. Like, let it be, had it been me. And like I said, it depends on his financial situation. It depends on what he has set up outside of basketball. You
mm-hmm.
know, whereas like, hey man, I can give it my all right now in college, and if it don't work, if I suffer one of those career-threatening injuries, hey, I got a life outside of basketball to where, I mean, I'm set, you know, and it's one of those situations. Like me, like coming from the east side of Cleveland, and
Mm-hmm.
I might have to sit this bad boy out because
Right, right.
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I love my home, but look, I don't want to mess up this ankle for life. And then I'm back on the east side. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'm back in Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I'm not
Yeah.
gonna bet the future on this one. You know what I'm saying? The whole idea is to make it and take care of your family and get some of the people that you really, really care about sincerely out of some situations. You know what
Definitely.
I'm saying? To where, and I'm not saying it's because Cooper, the kid is white or whatever like that, but maybe he has a great situation to
Mm-hmm.
where he can risk it, you
Right.
know. And
Right.
with me coming from where I come from, no, I'm not gonna risk that thing. That's my money maker. You know what I'm saying? This
Yeah.
this got to take care of a lot of people. Like when
Yeah.
I was coming out of college, my then wife was pregnant.
Nah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, in that situation I was facing, no, I'm sitting this out. I'm telling coach, nah, and these coaches understand. These
Yeah.
coaches understand. Like that's why I love coaches like Jim Boeheim.
Mm-hmm.
When he looked at Melo and said, "Dude, there's no future here for you next year at Syracuse, dude. You better take your butt to the league." You know what I'm saying? That's why hate him, like him, or love him. I love what Bobby Knight told Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you better go get them people outside up from the west side of Chicago, man. Take care of family. Get out of here, man. Don't you come back another year here in Indiana.
Yeah.
So it's those situations like Melo, man, that dude from West Baltimore.
Yeah.
Isaiah is from Chicago,
Yeah.
family poor and stuff like that. So
Yeah. They
it
come
depends on
straight
the
from the
financial.
projects.
Yeah, yeah. So it depends on the financial situation and what he has lined up outside of basketball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that depends on him. If he still got that passion to where he want to, ride it out with his team and stuff like that, go ahead and go for it, man.
Okay. Big bet, man. Hey, it makes sense now, man. I'm just the type, man. I guess maybe because of where we come from. I'm from Cleveland myself. So, well,
Yeah, you know that. Yeah, you
right.
know.
So it's like grew up on 93rd, and it was tough over there. I mean,
Man,
I went to Bedford, graduated from Bedford. We moved out the hood. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong. I
yeah.
lived, but
I know. Look, I know about that side of town. That's cross
yeah,
town, baby.
yeah. So I was like, I seen it over there to be like, okay, yeah, like in my mind, I'm like, man, no, I'm not risking nothing, not for no college, man.
Mm,
I'm going to the league. So I guess
mm,
that's why I feel the way that I feel. But we, because two different cultures, two different backgrounds,
right.
that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like you said, you don't
Absolutely.
know what Cooper got going on outside of basketball that, maybe he could risk it, but
Yeah.
he'll be fine either way. You
Yeah.
know. So best of luck. Duke won, by the way, 93-49. They move on. They play Baylor in the second round of the NCAA tournament. I think
Baylor.
I think they play Sunday as the second round. They're gonna play Baylor. Baylor is a tough team, by the
Yeah,
way.
that's what I say. Baylor ain't no chumps.
Baylor is not no chumps.
Yeah.
That's a solid team. And that point guard they got is nice. I think he had 16 today. So
Mm-hmm.
he is
Mm-hmm.
solid, man.
Yeah.
Final topic that I wanted to get your thoughts on. The whole Myles Garrett situation. Him requesting a trade and then him re-signing for being one of the highest paid non-quarterbacks ever in history, or it was some to that effect. I didn't pay attention to that part.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the Myles Garrett situation? And if you were the Browns, would you have sought to re-sign him, or would you have let him go?
I would have signed him. I mean, listen, he's a great talent, man. And he's the type of kid that you can build that defense around. I mean, here's my thing. I only have one gripe with Myles Garrett. Like, I want to see, and it's no, I think he will get to that point later on in his career as his career progresses. I want to see those string of games. If he want to be mentioned with the Smiths, the Peppers, the Taylors, the Derek Thomases, I want to see those string of games to where he takes over, to where Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, hey man, Myles Garrett won this game for us. Myles Garrett took over and bam, 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 bam. But I think the Browns made a fantastic move and a smart move by re-signing him because he's the type of kid that you could build that franchise around. He's not no troublemaker. He's a super nice kid, extremely athletic, extremely talented, one of the, if not the, one of the greatest premier pass rushers in the game. Now, my thing is with the Browns, you got to put some people around that kid. And for the people that don't understand, it's like, if you want Myles Garrett, and this is why I think I can see that Myles Garrett taking over games to where, because the reason why I think that's not happening now, because they're turning the protection to him. They're chipping him, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. Like, it's hard when you by yourself and they turning that protection to you, but he still got to crank it up another level to where, okay, they done this to Reggie White. They done this to Bruce Smith.
Mm-hmm.
What did they do to turn that thing around? Okay, what did they do to overcome that? But I think the Browns made a right move, and I think when Garrett was like requesting the trade and stuff like that, that was just a negotiation tactic. Okay, listen, man, lock me in long term. You know what I'm saying? Tell me I'm your franchise guy. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, if I'm a teammate of his, if I'm a coach of his, because we done this with Julius Peppers, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like, listen, man, it's okay to be an asshole. It's okay to be an asshole. You got to unleash the hawk, man. Like, Julius was an asshole to a degree, and we kind of embraced it because he wasn't signing autographs. But we knew, even though it was wrong, but we knew we had to let him be like that so he can continue to have that edge.
Okay.
Because when you're a pass rusher, when you're a premier defensive player to where you got to have that edge. You got to have that level of nastiness. You know what I'm saying? And this were the only gripe my only critique, my only takeaway I would have from Myles. I want him to be a little nasty because when I look at some of the interviews he did, when I saw some of the specials, the dude out there playing with his dogs and, you know what I'm saying, he's wearing a little sweater and it all looks nice. Saying, yeah, Myles, I get it, but I want to see the nastiness, man. Like, to me, he's kind of like one of those kids. Like, he like to go to one of them paint galleries and stuff like that. You would probably go catch him hanging out on Coventry out there in Cleveland
Yeah.
Heights.
Yeah.
Like, well, one of those little tree hugging, and I know nothing wrong with them, but I call them tree hugging weirdos out there in Coventry. You know what I'm saying? He kind of like hang out with them, go sit down, watch them slam poetry and stuff like that. It's like, nah, Myles, I need you to be nasty, man. Like, hey, man, get into a toxic relationship. Have an argument with your woman before the game, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they're serious, man. I'm being real serious because remember, like, what John Henderson of the, Jacksonville Jaguars used to have his trainer do
Oh
before
yeah.
every game. He used to have him slap the shit out of him, slap
Yeah.
the heck out of him.
Yeah.
Excuse my French, I'm sorry, but used to have him slap him. And John Henderson, he needed that edge. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I just need Myles to be a little nasty.
Yeah.
But but all in all, I think the Browns made a fantastic move by re-signing that kid because that's who you want as the face of your franchise.
And see, at first I thought I was looking at it like the Browns need to rebuild, but then I'm like, no, I think re-signing Myles was the right thing to do because now you could go either or. I mean, there's still some glaring holes that they need to patch up, and it may
Mm-hmm.
take a minute. But
Mm-hmm.
you either you could go and draft Abdul Carter, the kid from Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
It could be on the other side, and he could
Yep.
be up under Miles and learn from Miles.
Yep.
And then you got your defensive line right there. Now all you
Yeah.
got to do is work on your back seven. You need
Back
playmakers
seven.
in your back seven, and then
Yeah.
you can find that anywhere for real, for real. Them all over the draft for real, for real.
But you know what? The biggest mistake I think they made is when they gave all that up when they got Odell Beckham.
Yeah,
And I was so ticked off at the Browns organization for doing that. And like I was trying to see again, is where I was getting attacked by Browns fans when they made it. I said, no, that was a dumb trade, man, because you had everything there with the young kid, Jabril Peppers. I thought he would have had a nice future. I mean, even though his career is, where it is, but I think him along with Miles and stuff like that, I think they could have built something special. And don't get me wrong, that I like what I'm saying, what they had around them, but I don't think I think they had a young nucleus around it, and they kind of was like going in that direction how they was building the Buccaneers.
mm-hmm.
Remember when they started with Sapp, Lynch, and Brooks?
Yep, yep,
You know what I'm saying? And they was heading that direction, and then it blew up when you brought in Beckham and you gave up all these picks.
yeah,
And stuff like that. And I said, why would you mortgage your future to bring in a guy who don't want to be here?
mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yep,
And
yep,
and it's just like you brought him in, and then you had Baker, and Baker was already Tabasco sauce, and then you bring it in red hot sauce with Odell. How that's gonna clash? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I just think what they need to focus on, like you said, bring in some young talent, bring in some guys that can look towards Miles Garrett as far as like a mentorship, because he's a squeaky clean kid
yeah,
himself.
yeah,
And I think Myles Garrett has been in the league long enough to get these guys to say, listen, this is how you prepare for games and stuff like that. This is how you carry yourself. This is how the week preparation is supposed to go. This is the yeses and nos on the deal with the media. This is how the city of Cleveland is, the layout, bam, bam, bam. See, all this stuff, when you get drafted to a team like that, and that's what I'm saying, it was a genius part on re-signing Myles Garrett, because you showing the younger guys or showing incoming young free agents and saying like, okay, you believe in your foundation players to where you want to keep them around. Because when that time come up for me, a lot of people around the organization is watch the Browns ownership and watch the Browns front office and how they dealt with that situation. And as much as have been critical of Haslam in the
mm,
past, I would give that dude an A- on how he dealt with that. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I would give him an A for that, man. And I would give that Browns front office an A on how they dealt with that, man. So, yeah, bring in some young guys. Bring in an interior guy that
Okay,
can kind of take that pressure off of Myles Garrett to help the Browns with the run game. You know what I'm saying? And then, you build the interior first. You build that line first. And then you work towards the linebackers, then the DBs and stuff like that. Interior to exterior. That's how you build.
okay, okay, yeah. So I'm a little excited. I kind of want to see, where the Browns go from here. I don't think they're gonna get it all in one draft, but
Nah.
it's gonna take a minute. But I wouldn't say necessarily it's time to just abandon ship and rebuild, because
Mm-mm.
only thing you really
No,
got to rebuild is the offensive line.
absolutely. And see, I touched on this a couple months ago. It's not that the Browns offensive line was bad.
Yeah.
They had a communication problem. And
Mm-hmm.
see, people think if okay, to the untrained eye, to the naked eye, a lot of people just look at it and say, "Oh, they can't block." Oh, that's bull. They can block. The problem with offensive lines are you can tell that these guys don't like each other. I
Yeah.
can tell when the offensive line don't like each other, because when I'm lining up as a defensive tackle, I want to see head moving side to side, left to right. Them guys, they talking to each other. They on one accord, and they giving out calls like when like pre-snap, like they giving shit. They making pre-snap calls and stuff like, okay, oh hell, this is gonna be a good one, because them dudes are communicating. Or if I'm watching film, I'm seeing before the huddle, I'm before the snap, I'm seeing that center head like this, and I'm seeing a guard looking at him doing like this, and I'm seeing the tackle like, I got you, got you, got you. Those guys are communicating. When I watched a lot of the Browns games, or saw some of the Browns games, I didn't see a lot of heads moving around. I didn't see a lot of heads going left and right. I didn't see these guys communicating. And as a defensive lineman, I'm salivating at that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, oh, no, they ain't talking. So now we can throw in some twist stunts and stuff like that to throw them off. You know what I'm saying? Because they ain't communicating. Okay, we can run stunts. We can shift at the last minute. You know what I'm saying? During the quarterback case, because when defensive line, we shift. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, because they, oh, shit, now they, wait a minute. Now they all hysterical.
Yep.
Boom, player already started. So, I just think when it comes down to it, I just really think you need to bring in guys that, if Kevin Stefanski trusts his offensive line coach, I mean, maybe that might be an issue that he wants to address, because if they having communication problems, if you having a personnel problem, if you having a personnel offensive lineman that really can't get along, then that might be an indictment on the offensive line coach. Because he's setting a culture in that meeting room, okay, to where, because a lot of things happen. Guards might get in fights with tackles. They might not like the center. The center might be an ass. You know what I'm saying? And the center is the one that's, giving all the calls and stuff like that, calling out blitzes. He's giving protection calls and stuff like that. So maybe that center might not like that guard and say, man, I'm not giving this protection call to that punk. I don't like him, man. I want him to look bad on this play. But why would that center think that way? Now you got to look at the offensive line coach. Why are these guys not getting along? Why are these guys not cohesive? If I'm Kevin Stefanski, if I'm having this meeting with my offensive line coach, what is the problem? Why these guys are not cohesive? Do I really need to bring in new guys? Do I need to bring in another personnel? Do you trust this guy to, a lot goes into that. So if you bring in offensive linemen, you got to bring in guys, because let's be for real, man. This is the NFL, man. Them guys can block.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be there if they couldn't.
Right.
It just comes down to, can these guys coexist? Okay. What do they have personally going on? Like, it could be something, man, the groups, because we all come in different shades, different colors, different religious backgrounds and stuff like that. But, hey, man, we got to be as one.
Definitely.
That's my brother, you know what I'm saying, next to me.
Exactly.
Like, I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at you at the bees of your eyes, and I'm saying, okay, you nine, okay, we going to war together. We in this.
Yes, sir.
So that could be an issue too.
Yeah. My Zoom is at less than a minute. I done upgraded. I didn't pay for it, so we only had 40 minutes. So they about to kick us off.
Okay.
Thank you so much, man, for being on my show. I really appreciate